The signal that changed everything. Space was quiet, cold. Endless. Commander Rain sat inside the control room of the human exploration ship Sentinel-9. His eyes watched the stars through the glass. Nothing had changed in days. Then it happened. A BA. Sharp beep broke the silence. "Sir," said Officer Lena, looking up from her console, "we just received a deep space signal. Unknown origin. Very old tech." Rain stood up. "Can you trace it?" Lena nodded slowly. "It's weak. Coming from a system marked as dead. Velari Prime." Rain frowned. Velari was once home to a peaceful alien race. But they had vanished. A decade ago. No trade, no messages. Just silence. Most said they had wiped themselves out. But now, a signal. "Play it," Rain ordered. A broken, distorted voice echoed through the room. "Please. Help. We are dying. They are burning the skies." Then silence. Everyone froze. Rain stared at the screen. The signal wasn't human. It was alien. But it was also full of fear, panic, pain, and most importantly, it was real. The humans sent the recording to Earth's command center. The reply came back fast. "Proceed to Velari system. Investigate. Use caution." Rain gave the order. "Prepare the ship for warp. We leave in 10. As the engines powered up, a strange feeling settled over the crew. Something was wrong. The message felt like more than just a cry for help. It felt like a warning. 12 hours later, Sentinel-9 dropped out of warp near Velari Prime. Gas clouds covered the planet. Fires burned across the surface. Cities were shattered. Entire continents were blackened. This isn't war," whispered Lena. "This is extinction." Drones were sent to scan the ground. Most of the planet was dead. But one deep underground signal showed weak life signs. "Send a team," Rain said. The human team landed near the ruins of what looked like a bunker. The doors were sealed shut with burn marks. They forced the hatch open and stepped inside. Inside. They found them. 5 alien survivors. Thin, weak, starving, eyes full of terror. Rain approached slowly. "We're from Earth. We received your signal." "What happened here?" One of the Velari, barely alive, lifted his head. His voice trembled. "They came, the sky screamed, our cities. They didn't fight. They harvested." "Who?" Rain asked. The alien shook. "The harvesters. Machines from the void. No one stops them. No one survives." Rain looked around. "Why send the signal now?" The Velari coughed. "We sent it years ago. Again and again. No one came. Only you." Suddenly, Lena's voice crackled through the comms. "Commander, something just entered orbit." "It's not one of ours." Rain turned sharply. "Return to the ship. Now." Back on Sentinel-9, alarms were blaring. A strange object floated above the planet. Black, silent. It looked like a satellite, but older. And alive. Rain stared at the screen. "Is it scanning us?" "Yes, sir," said Lena. "And it just sent a message." "To whom?" "No idea. But it mentioned one word, target, Deathworlders." Everyone went silent. Rain whispered, "They know who we are." Earth had always been called a death world by the rest of the galaxy. Too dangerous. Too wild. Too violent. Other species feared humanity's strength. Now something else knew it too. Rain looked at his crew. "We walked into something bigger than a rescue mission." "That signal wasn't just a call for help." Lena nodded. "It was a trap." In the cold of space, the strange probe turned and disappeared into warp. Rain clenched his fists. "It saw us. And now it's calling others." He looked out at the burning world below. "They sent a signal into the stars. he said quietly. And now something's coming for us. Asterisk the crushed world. The planet Velari was once green, full of life. Now it was a black dot from orbit. The human crew aboard Sentinel-9 watched in silence. Satellite scans showed miles of burned forests, oceans poisoned with ash, and cities broken like glass dot. It wasn't war. It was something worse. Rain stood at the center of the command deck, eyes locked on the screen. "Give me a full scan." He said, "I want to know what did this." Lena worked quickly. No radiation, no signs of nukes, no biological weapons either. This was mechanical, precise. "Like farming," whispered one of the engineers. "Harvesting." Rain didn't answer, but his jaw tightened. Meanwhile, in the medbay, Dr. Carlin was treating the 5 alien survivors rescued from the underground bunker. They were weak, barely able to move, and their skin showed signs of long exposure to radiation and starvation. The oldest one, named Torval, finally opened his eyes. Carlin leaned closer. "Can you speak?" Torval nodded slowly. "Are you Deathworlders?" Carlin hesitated and said, "Yes, we came to help." "Your signal reached us." Torval's voice shook. "Then you are in danger. Greater than you know." Rain came down moments later. He stood beside Torval and asked, "Who are the harvesters?" Torval looked into his eyes. "They are not life. They are destroyers, machines older than memory. Long ago, they wiped out stars. They vanish for centuries. Then they return. Why now?" Rain asked. Torval coughed, eyes filled with dread. "Because we sent the signal. We broke the silence. They hunt noise. They follow the cry of the weak. And now they will follow you." The words fell heavy in the room. Back on the bridge, the crew picked up new readings. "Sir," Lena. Syed, voice tight. "A second probe has appeared, near our jump point. It's blocking us." Rain stared. "They don't want us to leave." A moment later, another alert lit up the screen. "Message intercepted," said Lena. "Unknown code." "But the translation is clear." She turned to Rain. "It says Species 941 identified. Classification, Deathworld. Escalate response." Rain took a step back. "We've been marked." Suddenly, the probe in orbit began to move. It released tiny black spheres, dozens of them scattering across the planet. They fell like raindrops. "What are those?" shouted one of the techs. "Scanning," Lena said quickly. "No life. Signs. They're drones. Machines." Rain watched the screen. Why deploy drones on a dead planet? Then he understood. "They're not scanning Velari," he said slowly. "They're scanning us, measuring our tech, testing our ship, planning." He turned to the crew. "They're gathering data. Before they attack." The crew went into high alert. Weapons were charged, shields raised, escape routes prepared. But no order came from Rain to flee. Instead, he stared out at the stars, fists clenched. "They want to see what Deathworlders are made of?" he muttered. "Then let's show them." Below the ship, the drones began building. Something on the planet's surface, a structure, tall and glowing. "Sir, this isn't just scanning tech," Lena said. "They're creating a gate, a portal. Something's coming through it." "How much time?" Rain asked. "Maybe a few hours." Rain's face was stone. "We're not leaving this planet behind. Not while those survivors are still on board. Not while this machine grows." He sent a direct message to Earth Command. Velari was wiped out by unknown mechanical force. Now targeting Earth. We've been mated. Prepare for contact. We are engaging. Then he looked at the screen one last time. "Let's crush their plan," he said, "before they crush our world too." The message was a trap for centuries. Humanity believed that saving others was a sign of strength. But on the edge of Villari space, Commander Rain began to question everything inside Sentinel-9. Red lights blinked across the control deck. The machine structure on Villari's surface had grown taller, its metal spine pulsing with strange blue light. It wasn't just tech, it was alive. "Sir," Lena said quickly, "that thing? It's not just a gate. It's calling something. Big." "How big?" Rain asked. "Big enough to crush a continent." The room went quiet. Rain stared at the planet below. "They wanted us to come here." He walked to the main screen and replayed. The original SOS signal, the same one that had brought them here. As the broken voice repeated, Lena looked closer. "Wait. This signal has layers." Rain turned. "What do you mean?" "I just ran a deep scan. Underneath the audio, there's a hidden transmission. A second message, buried in the wave. They amplified it. It wasn't a distress call. It was a tracking beacon." Everyone froze. "It wasn't a call for help," Lena whispered. "It was a location tag. Whoever sent it knew it would bring someone here." Rain clenched his fists. It was a test. They wanted to see who would answer. "And now they know," Lena said. "They know about Earth." Down in the medbay, Torval, the Villari survivor, began to panic. His weak body shook as he grabbed Dr. Carlin's arm. "I remember now," he cried. "We didn't send the signal. We found it. It was in space, drifting, ancient. We just repeated it, hoping someone would come." Carlin's eyes widened. "You rebroadcast a signal you didn't understand?" Torval nodded. "We didn't know it was cursed." Carlin whispered, "You didn't call for help. You set the trap off again." Back on the bridge, Lena gasped. "Sir, multiple warp signatures incoming." Rain spun around. "How many?" Lena stared at the screen, her voice almost a whisper. 17. And growing. In seconds, the darkness of space twisted. Ships appeared, not like any known vessels. Long, black, and silent. No windows, no lights, no heat. Only movement cold and perfect. "The harvesters," Rain said softly. They came in formation. Each ship linked to the others like a swarm. Then they stopped and sent a single word in a language that didn't need translation. "Observe." "What are they waiting for?" Someone asked. RIYN watched carefully. "They're watching how we react." He turned to his crew. "They don't attack first. They study. They adapt. Then they hit where it hurts most." He walked toward the screen, pointing at the gate on Villari's surface. "We take that thing out now, before they complete their plan." Moments later, 3 human shuttles launched toward the planet. They flew low over the burning cities, avoiding harvester drones. Rain himself led the assault. "This isn't just a rescue," he said to his squad. "This is a warning shot. If we destroy their gate, we send them a message they didn't trap prey." They woke up something far worse. The human team landed near the massive gate. Strange energy pulsed around it. One soldier screamed as his gear melted without touching anything. "These machines are rewriting physics." The engineer gasped. RAYN didn't hesitate. "Charge the EMP cores. We take this thing down with one shot." Suddenly, a voice echoed across the minds of the team, not through ears, not through COMMS. Inside their thoughts. "Deathworlders, you are not ready." Rain growled. "We've heard that before." Then he shouted, "Detonate!" A white flash exploded across the sky. The gate trembled. Its spine cracked. The blue light turned red. And then it collapsed. A shockwave ripped through the atmosphere. Back on Sentinel-9, Lena stared at her screen. "They're moving all harvester ships retreating? Just like that? Someone asked. No, Rain said as he returned to the ship, his armor burned. Not retreating, recalculating. They didn't expect a Deathworlder to hit back on day one. But deep in the void, the Harvester Network updated its record. Threat level increased. Species 941, non-compliant, commence full-scale response. Asterisk. They awakened the sleeping giant. The galaxy had forgotten Earth, forgotten what it meant to challenge a death world. But now, they had remembered. Because Earth was awake. After the destruction of the alien gate on Velari, Commander Rain sat inside Sentinel-9, bruised and burned. His team had survived, but just barely. The damage to the Harvester structure had forced the enemy ships to pull back, but no one smiled. No one celebrated, because the silence wasn't peace. It was the sound of something bigger coming. Lena's voice cracked through the comms. Sir, long-range scans show massive movement in nearby sectors. Dozens, maybe hundreds of harvester vessels. They're gathering. Rain stood slowly. So they've decided to stop playing, Carlin added. They saw what we did to their gate. Now they're angry. Rain didn't blink. Good. Back on Earth, the signal from Sentinel-9 reached High Command. The room went dark as the transmission played. Velari was bait. The signal was a trap. Harvesters are real. They've marked us. This is not a rescue mission anymore. This is war. For a few seconds, the leaders of Earth said nothing. Then General Kale stood and gave the order that had not been spoken in over a century. Activate Project Revenant. Back on Sentinel-9, Rain received a short message from Earth. Backup. En route. ETA. 11 hours. Do not die. He smirked. Typical. Then he turned to his crew. We're not just surviving today. We're making history. Hours passed. Velari's orbit grew darker. Then they came. The Harvester fleet returned, no longer studying, no longer scanning. This time they came to a race. 30 ships, tall and sharp. No lights, no sound. But behind them, a new shape, huge, blinding, and terrifying. Sir, Lena said slowly, her hands shaking. That's not a ship. That's a moon. Rain squinted. That's not a moon. That's a moving war core. The Harvester Core. Mobile planet-sized factory. It didn't just kill worlds, it used them. Velari was about to become fuel. Rain didn't hesitate. All ships engage. Hold the line. The human warships launched from orbit. Though fewer in number, they were born from centuries of survival. On a violent planet, human ships didn't run cold. They ran hot with fire, fury, and vengeance. Railguns fired. Drones danced. EMP bursts ripped through Harvester scouts. Rain's ship took a hit and spun sideways. But he corrected quickly. Race, we've never been the biggest, just the most stubborn. But even as they fought, the Harvester Core began draining Velari's crust. Huge drills dropped into the planet. The sky turned red. One Harvester ship moved too close to a human cruiser. Captain Mora on board smiled coldly. Light it up. A hidden cannon burst from under the cruiser's hull and fired. The Harvester ship cracked, then exploded into black fire. For the first time, the enemy fleet paused. Inside, the core machines calculated again. This wasn't expected. This wasn't in the pattern. Earth was different. Suddenly, new signals appeared in local space. Dozens of them. Rain looked up as alerts blinked on every screen. They're here, Lena whispered. Reinforcements from Earth. Rain stared through the glass. And then they saw. It, the Revenant, a massive black and silver human dreadnought, long forbidden by treaty. It hadn't been seen for 80 years, built in secret, made for extinction-level threats. And now, It had come back. The Revenant sent a single broadcast to the enemy. You were warned. This is Earth's final voice. Turn back or burn. The harvesters did not turn back. So Earth answered with fire. Missiles launched. Fusion lances screamed through space. Harvester ships began falling. But the core still stood. Rain knew what came next. He opened a direct link to Earth High Command. We need authorization for Hellflare Protocol. Back on Earth, the answer came in one word. Granted. Aboard the Revenant, a hidden chamber opened. A weapon too powerful for normal war was unlocked. They called it the Godbolt. It took 1 hour to charge. And while it charged, the Deathworlders bled and fought and refused to fall. Rain, breathing hard, shouted into the comms. Every minute we buy is a minute Earth stands. Hold them. Die if you must, but let that core feel our pain. The harvesters didn't understand fear. But for the first time, they hesitated, because this was no ordinary species. This was humanity. This was a death world. And they had been awakened. Asterisk. The sky burns red. The stars above Velari were no longer calm. They were on fire. The human dreadnought Revenant floated in space like a silent titan. Its body glowed with rising energy. Inside, the ancient weapon, the Godbolt, was charging. Commander. Rain stood on the damaged bridge of Sentinel-9, eyes locked on the screen. Status? He asked. Lena's voice was calm, but tight. 70%. 20 minutes until full charge. Rain nodded. We don't have 20 minutes. Below them, the Harvester core had landed on Valari's crust. Massive claws dug deep into the planet. Long cables reached into the ground, pulling up the planet's inner energy. Mountains crumbled. Oceans boiled. Valari, once a home, was now food. And still, the harvesters kept coming. 20 human ships circled the Revenant, protecting it. One by one, they were falling. Enemy boarding pods incoming. Shouted Lena. They're trying to breach the Revenant's core. Rain growled. Not on my watch. He turned to Carlin. I need volunteers for a 0G counterattack. Carlin didn't hesitate. I'm going. Outside, human strike teams launched from side ports, flying toward the boarding pods. They moved fast, using magnetic boots and old-school rifles. Bullets tore through enemy machines mid-space. Explosions lit the blackness like a firestorm, but more were coming. Inside the Harvester core, alien machines spoke in clicks and code. Deathworlders present unexpected resistance. Full force required. Initiate Phase 3, Void Breach. Back on Sentinel-9, a warning filled the ship. Sir, Lena said, they're activating a gravity weapon inside the core. It will collapse the planet, destroy everything in orbit. Rain's voice was cold. They want to end us in one. Low. But then, another voice came through the comms. General Kale from Earth. Rain, the Godbolt is at 95%. But it won't fire itself. It needs manual override at the target zone. Rain understood instantly. Someone had to fly straight into the heart of the Harvester core and aim the weapon from inside. Thought it was a suicide run. He didn't hesitate. I'll do it. His team protested, but Rain looked each of them in the eyes. This isn't about survival anymore. It's about message. The galaxy needs to know we don't back down. Rain boarded a small strike pod. Old, scarred, human. He flew low over Valari's burning surface, dodging plasma fire and falling debris. The Harvester core loomed ahead, black and huge like a sleeping god. He spoke into the comms. If I fail, launch the Godbolt anyway. Earn it all. The pod hit the core hard. Rain kicked the hatch open, jumped out, and ran inside the alien structure. Machines screamed in strange voices. Red lights blinked around him. He placed the override device into the center of the control. Spike dot, suddenly everything stopped. The core spoke. You are not logical. You fight while dying. Why? Rain smiled. Because we're human. He hit the switch. Above Villari, the Revenant roared. The Godbolt fired. A beam of white-hot energy, so bright it blinded the stars, tore through space. It cut through the clouds, into the core, and exploded. The ground shattered. The sky turned red. Then everything went silent. On the Sentinel-9, Lena shouted. Direct hit. Harvester core destroyed. Cheers broke out across the fleet. The remaining Harvester ships, those still, functional, began to scatter. Dot retreating. Dot running. Dot from humans. Dot, but inside the core, Commander Rain stood still, breathing. Heavy. The blast had collapsed most of the structure. He was trapped. Lena's voice came through a weak signal. Rain, do you copy? Rain smiled faintly. Copy. Just stuck under a few tons of alien metal. A pause. Then Lena said softly, We're coming to get you. Rain looked up through a crack in the metal. The red sky burned with light. He whispered, Let them all see it. This is what happens when you wake the giants. Asterisk. Deathworlders never die quietly. The firestorm had ended, but the war was not over. Villari's skies were ash. The Harvester core was gone, burned to dust by the Godbolt. Human ships floated in orbit, broken but unbowed. The survivors watched. The wreckage drift silently. Dot inside the core ruins, buried deep beneath crushed metal. Commander Rain was still alive. His body was bruised. His suit cracked. Oxygen low, but his eyes were open. He was waiting, not to die, but to be heard. Dot above. Lena stood at the command deck of Sentinel-9. Her hands trembled, but her voice was steady. Signal from Rain's pod. He's alive. Weak, but stable. Dr. Carlin leaned forward. We need to extract him fast. Radiation's rising. Lena gave a sharp nod. Prepare a rescue run. He didn't die making history. He'll live to watch it change. In deep space, far from Villari, the Harvester network was silent, but not still. Inside their data cloud, something had shifted. Species 941. Combat pattern unpredictable. Losses unacceptable. Strategy updated. Do not engage directly. Observe. Contain. Fear. For the first time in their long existence, the Harvesters marked a species as too costly to fight. Back on Earth, news of the battle spread fast. Humanity had destroyed a Harvester core. Billions watched the footage of fire lighting the stars, of Deathworlders standing firm. Alien diplomats, once silent, now called Earth. Some offered alliances. Some offered apologies. Some offered weapons. But the answer from Earth was clear. We don't want power. We want peace. But if you bring war, you'll meet the Deathworlders. A week later, Rain woke up inside a military hospital on Earth. His chest hurt. His leg was in a brace. But his mind was sharp. Lena sat nearby, smiling. You made it back, she said. He nodded slowly. Did the galaxy hear us? She turned on the holoscreen. Dozens of alien news feeds glowed. Villari survivors were rebuilding with human aid. The Galactic Council, once afraid to even say Earth, now asked humans for advice. Rain smirked. They finally believe it. Believe what? Lena asked. Rain sat up and whispered, We don't die quietly. But deep in the stars, a darker shadow moved. Dot in a far-off system. An alien race, the Oron, watched the Harvester defeat with interest. They didn't send help. They didn't send warnings. Took notes. Earth is dangerous, one said. Yes, another replied. But maybe. Controllable. Plans began. And Earth had no idea that new eyes were watching. Back on Velari, the rebuilt human outpost raised a banner, not of war, but of warning, a sign written in every known language. This planet was taken. Then Deathworlders came. Now it stands free. Below the words was a message in red. Never forget who answered the signal. The fire that lit the stars. In every corner of the galaxy, stories were told. Stories of a fire that burned so bright it shook even the darkness. That fire came from Earth. 3 months had passed since the Battle of Valar I. The Harvester Core was destroyed. Valeri's skies were clear, and humanity was no longer ignored. Inside the Galactic Council Chamber, once a place where Earth was never mentioned, every seat was full. Aliens of every kind, shape, and world listened as Commander Rain stood in the center. He wore no armor, no weapon, just the scars of war and the respect of 100 civilizations. Rain's voice was clear. We didn't ask for this war. We answered a call for help. He paused. They tried to erase us for it. They failed. The chamber was silent. Then he said, "We are not conquerors, but we are not prey. We are Deathworlders. We bring peace, but never on our knees." That speech became history. Back on Velari, children played in the rebuilt cities. Human engineers worked beside Velari scientists. A school was opened, the first one ever to teach human and alien history side by side. In its main hall stood a single statue. It was simple, a human hand holding a torch. Below it were 4 words. They answered the signal. But even as peace grew, so did the galaxy's fear, not of destruction, but of Earth's willpower. Humanity had done what no one else dared, faced a machine god, and won. And still, they didn't brag, they didn't rule, they simply rebuilt. Scared more empires than any weapon ever could. Far across space, in hidden corners, the old enemies whispered. Some feared Earth, some hated Earth, and some, like the secretive Orin, began planning. If Deathworlders burned so brightly, one of them said, then we must control the flame before it consumes us all. But Earth had already changed. Human fleets now patrolled near isolated worlds. Treaties were signed with races once too afraid to speak. Alien refugees, hunted by harvesters, now found homes under Earth's protection. No longer just humans. They were a growing alliance, built not on fear, but on fire and unity. One night, Commander Rain stood alone on a small observation deck, looking at the stars. Lena stepped beside him. "They still talking about you," she said with a smile. He chuckled. "Let them. I didn't do it for fame." "Then why?" she asked. Rain pointed at the stars. "Because one day, someone else will send a signal." He turned to her, eyes steady. "And they'll need to know someone is coming." From that moment on, a new law was passed in the Terran command. If you call out into the stars, and your voice is true, the Deathworlders will answer, and they will come with fire.